What better way for a son and father to bond over than their mutual love for the Dallas Cowboys? Hi, I'm Michael Davis with my dad, Mack. We're a star-studded son and dad duo on the star-studded Cowboys Network, powered by Fans First Sports Network and Boom Broadcasting. And this is Dad and the Boys. Last week we were on, and we didn't know the next time we would be back, but we have breaking news, and Mike McCarthy is no longer the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. They failed to agree to terms, and they have agreed to part ways. Mike McCarthy has with the Cowboys front office, particularly Jerry Jones. I broke an article on Fans First Sports Network minutes after Tom Pelissero mentioned this and broke the news first. And Dad, I was writing that article, and I was like, I got to get this out in like 10 minutes. But at the same time, it was hard because you're looking at a coach who had 3 12-win seasons consecutively. That is the only time it's happened in the NFL. A year later, you go 7-10. There's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of front office that doesn't give you the most help in certain situations, and you're gone. This is a coach who was 49-35 when he was in Dallas. He's won over 60% of his games. He won a Super Bowl in our stadium as the Packers head coach back in 2010. He's a good coach. I know he'll find work elsewhere, but what was your initial reaction to hearing Mike McCarthy is no longer in Dallas?
Well, son, I was throughout the weekend, I've been kind of hearing they were in negotiations. They were getting serious. And I've been watching all weekend long, flipping through SportsCenter, flipping through different programming. Could care less about the playoffs. My team's not in there, unfortunately. But flipping through everything and with the anticipation, what is Mike going to resign for? Is it going to be 4? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 3? With the anticipation that Mike McCarthy would be back. Him and Zimmer, man, what a combination. Unfortunately, things didn't work out this year like they should have. And I don't think, I may be totally off base. So nobody's privy to Jerry's mind. Not even Jerry sometimes.
Not even Jerry.
But, it's one of those things where I think that they went into these negotiations with the intent of getting something done. And for some reason, whatever reason that may be, things just didn't work out. Sometimes, in relationships, and that is a relationship between a coach and a GM/owner. It's a relationship. Just like if you work, you got a relationship with your boss. You got a relationship that y'all bonded over your job. And so sometimes those things doesn't work out exactly as we expect them to. And there comes a time when you have to walk away. I don't know which side necessarily did the walk away, if it was a mutual thing or what. I hate to see him go. I think he was a good coach. I think that, this year was just unfortunate with all the injuries, with the lack of free agency, the holdouts and everything else. It was sad. I would have loved to seen him, and a lot of the players took him, wanted to see him back. But there again, when you're asked about somebody, if you're a player, let's say you're Dak Prescott, and you're asked about your head coach, are you really going to give him anything but high remarks?
For in the most ideal cases, sometimes players have went rogue in that. I'm just thinking about NBA,
Aaron Rodgers,
NBA's Jimmy Butler, so on and so forth.
But those individuals that come to the point where they no longer wanted to be a part of it or something, there had to be a change.
Yeah,
the relationship had spoiled to the point, and I don't think this was the case in McCarthy and the Cowboys. I think that they just couldn't get the inner workings, and for whatever reason, they said, look, maybe we would be better just parting ways and going our separate ways. I wish Mike the best. I think he will coach again, whether that be this year or next. I I wished it would have been in Dallas, but unfortunately, it's not going to be. That ship is sailed now at this point.
And and you start thinking about like what Mike McCarthy's meant to this team, and you brought up players. Dak Prescott, yes, he probably does have an opinion, especially being a huge part of that offense. He'll have to potentially relearn a new offensive scheme, new offensive language. We talked about it last week how that could set the offense back potentially, depending on how quickly they can acclimate to a new language. I mean, if you're trying to learn, Spanish for the first time or French, and you're just not used to it, you really have to relearn certain things. But Dak's locked up. CeeDee Lamb's locked up. You and I have talked about Micah Parsons wanting him to be a Cowboy for life. He was one of the players vocal about Mike McCarthy and
And
showing
Mike
support
Zimmer,
for him.
yeah,
So
him and Zimmer both. And there again, I mean, you want to keep your stars happy.
mm-hmm.
Micah Parsons is a star. They've got to lock him up for the foreseeable future. But Micah Parsons is also a professional. He wants to be a Cowboy, and he knows that, unfortunately, this is a business, and that he may have to play for a different coach. He was a big Dan Quinn guy.
He was a big Dan Quinn guy. That worries me a little bit.
And then he went to he's a Mike Zimmer guy. I think any decent defensive coordinator that utilizes Micah Parsons to the best of his ability. Micah Parsons is going to be that guy. He's going to be that guy's guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Micah's going to enjoy it. It's just being able to be the player and fulfill his utmost talent. And he is super talented, ultra talented. I don't know if you want to do a commercial break before we get into the potential
candidates. Yeah, and we will. And Mike McCarthy, from what it is like, we'll miss you. I think you got a lot of flack on social media or people who don't always watch the games. And were there times throughout your 5 years that I was frustrated? Yeah. There are times that earlier this year I wrote an article on Fans First saying, hey, this might not be working out. Here are 6 candidates that Dallas, might want to look at. How plausible is this for both sides? And that's still available on Fans First. But now we need to do a new article because we'll be talking about after the commercial break some candidates that we would like to see in Dallas. But yeah, so Mike McCarthy's done. We don't know the status of Mike Zimmer yet, if they'll interview him or if he'll leave as well, because he had a 1-year contract, right?
He did, and most of the staff did as well. Zimmer, I do not anticipate him being back. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll move up to the head coach ranks in Dallas. I mean, a lot of that is due to age, and he wasn't even for sure he wanted to coach this year. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, we don't regret this decision not to get something done and get him re-signed and coaching again in Dallas. So we will only know. Nobody knows the future.
Nobody knows the future. Right now, it looks like waiting on decision 2 has probably set the organization back.
I don't think it has, because really, what has it done? It's set the organization back by Mike Vrabel is in the only hire
right now in New England.
So he's gone. Maybe he was never even in the equation. But that was speculation.
But then you have Detroit and you have Kansas City, who could potentially go to the Super Bowl, and they've had their coordinators interview with teams last week, and they've put those away now. And
yeah, so those guys, have they really lost ground on those interviews? I would, if I was Ben Johnson or one of the other coordinators, Aaron Glenn or what, I would definitely talk to Dallas and see what they've got. What they're thinking. And we'll discuss that more after the break. I mean,
that's a good segue right here. If you're listening on Fans First Sports Network, if you're watching on Boom Broadcasting, thank you. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back to Dad and the Boys. Michael Davis, my dad Mac. We're breaking the news that Mike McCarthy is out as the Cowboys head coach. Now, we told you you're listening to us on Fans First Sports Network. You're watching us on Boom Broadcasting for the first time ever. And with this breaking news, not only will the article still be up on fansfirstsports.com, but we'll release the audio version here before we release the video version. So, Fans First, you get an exclusive early preview to Dad and the Boys and our gut reaction, while video feed will still drop Dad and the Boys tomorrow or Tuesday afternoon, 3 p.m., Boom Broadcasting. And that's just to say thank you to Fans First for allowing me to write there and, get you guys content as quick as possible. And Boom Broadcasting has a lot right now. It had 3 from Deep on Monday afternoon. It had Out of Pocket on Monday evening. If you're watching Monday Night Raw right now and you're getting ready for the nightcap, which is a Monday Night Raw pre recap for Boom Broadcasting, hosted by Mouthing Off with Mike. He'll be joined by Nick Ram from Four Sides of the Ring. So that's just a way to say thank you. Give our audio listeners something to consume as they go to bed or get up in the morning and go to work. But we talked a little bit about Mike McCarthy. He is no longer the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and instead we have just a wide range of where Dallas could go. Now, looking back at what's happened in the past, Mike McCarthy, 5 years, he was there the duration of his contract. Jason Garrett was there 10 years prior, and then you had Wade Phillips, who was fired mid-season for Jason Garrett to take over as the interim. And so that's kind of like giving you a little bit of history over the last 15, 20 years of the Cowboys head coaching. So you had one defensive guy and then 2 offensive guys. And now it's like Goldberg. Who's next?
Who's next? And this will be number 10 in Dallas's illustrious history. Now, a lot of folks out there, the social media types and the media and all this other stuff, they'll sit here and tell you that Dallas is not the best organization to go to, even though there has been a report out that Dallas is the top organization of those organizations that want a new head coach.
And some of those Bears, Saints, Jaguars, Raiders, I'm
even New England was there.
Jets.
New England was in there.
Patriots was there before Mike Vrabel.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you're a head coach prospect and you do not want full control, because you're not getting that with Dallas. I mean, Jerry's not allowing that. But a lot of people are saying, well, Jerry's hands-on and stuff. But you don't understand. Jerry, personnel decisions, you do have a lot of input in. And Bill Parcells has even said that and went on record. Jerry consults the coach. He consults the personnel director, Will McClay. He consults his kid, Stephen Jones, Jerry Jr., Charlotte. There is a consensus that comes out of that draft room.
And that's why we didn't draft Johnny Manziel instead of Zach Martin.
Right. So, I mean, yes, Jerry has his opinions, but it doesn't always play out. If Jerry had his desires, Des Bryant would have never left the team. He would have never been cut.
Zeke Elliott
would have never been cut. So Jerry does value the input of the coaches, the personnel department, the scouts, the inner circle in that organization. And that is it. They're like the inner circle. I mean, those are the ones that have Jerry's ear. And, you could see it. We watched every draft that Mike McCarthy was a part of.
Yes, we did.
And we didn't watch the national feed. We watched the feed there out of Dallas's own
war room.
And and they're broadcasting, and you could see the interactions between the coaches and the inner circle. Will McClay, the scouts, Jerry, Steven, Jerry Jr., Charlotte, all of them, coaches. And you saw that it's not necessarily what the storyline they want to sell on the national level. It is a consensus. You do have input. But you know what's best about the Dallas Cowboys? If you're a potential head coaching candidate, you know that you're not going to be done after 1 year. Jerry doesn't play that way. He at least gives you the opportunity to implement your program to see if it succeeds.
Which is what the Patriots didn't give Gerard Mayo, which is what the Raiders didn't give Antonio Pierce.
And a lot of other organizations, because folks, it takes time to change a culture. It takes time to build a program. And, you know, it isn't like right now in college where you can go in like Deion Sanders did. He changed Colorado altogether because he brought in 30 new kids, all top talent. I mean, various kids that he had coached before. I mean, all you got to do is offer them a scholarship, right? Well, the NFL doesn't necessarily work that way because you got a salary cap now. So you do have turnover, but it's mostly the bottom of your roster that is being turned over year in and year out. And there's a lot of great candidates, whether it be Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick from the Houston Texans. Hey, talk about familiarity, Kellen Moore. Is he going to be the next one? He definitely has ties to the Dallas Cowboys. Aaron Glenn has ties to the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot of potential talent. Some of them those are the ones that are more familiar to you if you've been following social media at all over the last day or so.
And 3 of those names were on my Fans First Sports article earlier this year.
But let's throw out some names that aren't on that article. Some names that aren't necessarily on the spotlight. You know, you got Brian Flores, who was in that article. I don't know that he will be the guy. I mean, super defensive mind. But
there's concerns.
There's
concerns.
And the fact that, you know, with his suit against the NFL, you have the fact that Dallas is named in that lawsuit, by the way, specifically. But, you know, regardless of how they start this coaching search, it's going to start with one thing. The Dallas front office has to do DEI training by the NFL before they can even begin their search. Okay? Just to make sure they're following the Rooney Rule. Obviously, the New England Patriots bypassed that really quick with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, and we talked about that yesterday on Out of Pocket of just, you know, how the Rooney Rule isn't coming into its full effect.
Well, and there again, I mean, honestly, if I'm a $1 billion owner of this organization and I want to hire somebody, I shouldn't have to hire them based off the color of their skin. I should hire the most qualified person that I want to run my organization. Because I'm speaking for Jerry Jones, and I very seldom do this. I can promise you, if Jerry thinks Brian Flores, Ron Rivera, Mike McCarthy, Deion Sanders, Ben Johnson would lead his team to a Super Bowl, let me tell you, any one of those gentlemen would take the offer. Because there is no coaching cap salary. And Jerry Jones would write a check that you would not believe to get one more Super Bowl. And that I believe in wholeheartedly.
I will save my Derrick Henry argument because he did not.
But there is a cap against players. And Derrick Henry wasn't a guaranteed to a Super Bowl, son. I'm talking about a coach. If there's a coach out there where he's got to follow the Rooney Rule, it doesn't matter the color of that coach's skin. He wants to hire the coach that he believes wholeheartedly that's going to get him to a Super Bowl. Now, it may work out, it may not, because he believed my only reason he hired Mike McCarthy was because he loved Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
He did. Jason Garrett was part of his family, had been for several years. The whole Garrett family had basically worked in that organization. He was like a fourth son to him, you know. But he believed that Jason wasn't getting him to the point where he could go to the Super Bowl. He fully believe that Mike McCarthy could implement that. And that's the reason he hired the man. And if Brian Flores, uh, Bill Belichick, any coach out there that candidate that can come in and sell Jerry Jones, this is my program, this is how I get you to the Super Bowl, and I can and Jerry, and you sell the man on it, and you sell him the fact that he can do that. I don't doubt there isn't a check that Jerry Jones, there isn't an amount on that figure that Jerry wouldn't write.
Well, when it comes to writing the check, who do you want him to hand it to?
Honestly, Jerry, I know you probably don't watch us. I hope you do. If you don't, Steven, if you're watching us, or Jerry Jr., or Charlotte, or Will McClay, or maybe even one of the grandkids, here at Fans First Sports Network or Boom Broadcasting, got an idea for you, totally off the wall. Now, I would like to see you hire the kid from Notre Dame,
Marcus Freeman.
But I got an even better idea for you. I come cheap. I've been the pseudo coach / GM to Madden. I got an offensive coordinator already on the plan. Comes cheap too.
I wore the polo today, guys.
He knows. When in doubt, slant to 88.
That's pretty funny. Hopefully that would be it.
We come cheap, by the way.
No, we don't.
He
writes checks. Dad, get all the money you can. Now I've been racking my head all Monday, and even before this news was official. The only name I'm settling on is coaching, and we probably won't get an interview with them. And hopefully there's no tampering in terms of like, hey, let's get this deal under the table before the Lions end. But Ben Johnson, he has seen Dan Campbell's aggression, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Ben Johnson has helped the Lions offensively. Grant, they do have, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they have Jahmyr Gibbs, they have David Montgomery, but Jared Goff was like, the guy who was traded away from LA because they didn't think that Jared Goff was going to deliver a Super Bowl. And now the Lions are in number one seed in the NFC, and I feel like Ben Johnson has a huge hand on that. He's not from a very good coaching tree like Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay that some of these other coaches have been, but I really feel like Ben Johnson is the number one ideal candidate here. I'm surprised he didn't get a job last year, but he'll get a job this year, and I would want him in Dallas.
If he wants it.
He'll probably want it.
And there again, I would love to see Ben Johnson in Dallas. I would love Bob Slowick.
Yeah,
would
from
be
Houston.
a good candidate. Another good candidate. Another good candidate comes from Notre Dame. And folks, you can criticize all you want to, but Dallas is one of those organizations that is in the spotlight week in, week out. Year in, year out. So there comes a lot of stuff you got to deal with. Well, if there's a college program out there with as much scrutiny, it is Notre Dame. And look at how he's changed that culture.
Very short amount of time, by the way.
Very short amount of time. They've improved each year, and now they're 15-1, going for the national championship.
Against Ohio State.
And in all honesty, I love Notre Dame. And I've always said, great, man. Even when Manti Te'o was there and they went up for the national championship, it was like, yeah, but they're going to collapse. At what point are they going to collapse? Unfortunately, as a Dallas fan, that's the thing that you often hear. At what point are we going to collapse? I honestly believe, and they may not, but I honestly believe they've got a shot to beat Ohio State because I haven't seen that collapse. I haven't seen those kids are playing hard for him, and he's got the plan down. And these kids are overachieve. They're actually overachieving, in all honesty.
Yeah, because Riley Leonard wasn't doing much at Duke, and it's it's been pretty crazy. I didn't think Notre Dame would be in the national championship game. Whether Marcus Freeman would be able to translate in the NFL is a
And
different question.
there again, they haven't had the top recruiting classes over the last few years, because that's went to Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, Michigan, those schools there, and so he's built that program up with less. And so, I mean, to have them playing like he does, I would definitely reach out and offer him an interview. The one I know, I heard this, I saw this online today. Please do not, and I love him, but please do not try to fill this void with Jason
Witten. I knew it. I knew it was coming.
I love Jason Witten.
Not right now.
He's an ultimate cowboy.
Not right now.
But head coaching material right now, he's not. Maybe someday.
Not right now.
But not right now. I would rather have Sean Lee.
Yeah, I would just rather have I would rather have somebody who's like either been an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, young, and has like at least a little bit of a proven track record. Or, if Marcus Freeman, if you feel comfortable about him making that transition to the NFL.
Not Robert Saleh either. Defensive coordinator I'm good with, but not
Saleh.
Not head coach.
Yeah, it didn't go too well in with the New York Jets. But we'll keep following this. Again, this episode's releasing earlier on Fans First Sports Network with our audio, with our Star Study Cowboys Network, and this episode's premiering on Boom Broadcasting VO feed at 3 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon for Boom Broadcasting. If you're not subscribed to either one, wherever you're listening to us, go subscribe to us on the other, because we got a lot of content. Fans First covers all the teams. Boom Broadcasting covers literally anything you could think of or imagine. Catch Starstruck when it returns.
Soon.
Soon.
Hopefully, we just got to work the logistics out. Right now, it might not be Starstruck. It might be Dumbstruck, because I'm kind of confounded about, mixed emotions about Mike McCarthy leaving. If you've watched this show, you know how big advocate I was for Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. And so, guys, we'll get back to our Dad and the Boys episode. If there is breaking news that happens with a coaching search, we'll try to do an emergency episode the best we can. But if not, we'll be back next week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. So, guys, we appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for watching or listening to Dad and the Boys, Fans First Sports Network, Boom Broadcasting. And remember, this is our first rodeo. We'll catch you here next time.